This man's name was Forrest Tucker. He spent almost his entire life as a bank robber, pulling off a bank heist nearly every single week. Because of this line of work, he was caught and imprisoned dozens of times. But every time he stepped foot inside a cell, the very first thing on his mind was simple: how am I going to break out?
Over his colorful career, he attempted a staggering 30 prison escapes. 12 failed, but 18 succeeded. That means this man successfully broke out of prison 18 times. No matter what kind of maximum security facility they threw him into, he always found a clever and innovative way to escape. Today, we are focusing on his final act, escape attempt number 18, the boldest and most famous operation he ever pulled off.
From a very young age, Forrest was drawn into the world of crime. By age 16, he was caught for the first time and sent to a juvenile reformatory. But 16-year-old Forrest had no intention of staying. He tied a few bed sheets together and climbed out the window, just like something you'd see in a cartoon. From that day on, that was his life. For over 60 years, his routine was essentially rob a bank, get caught, break out of prison, and repeat. He escaped inside a laundry basket, dug underground tunnels, cut through iron bars, and once even escaped while leaving a dummy's head under his bed covers. But in 1979, at 59 years old, he was caught again and sent to San Quentin State Prison. San Quentin was one of the largest and toughest maximum security prisons in California, housing death row inmates and the most dangerous criminals. The facility was surrounded by a 6-meter-high stone wall and sniper towers, with orders to shoot to kill. However, that massive wall only covered 3 sides of the prison. The 4th side was completely open to the freezing waters of San Francisco Bay. The prison administration viewed the bay as an impassable natural barrier. Surviving a swim across was considered impossible, but for Forrest Tucker, who was facing a 10-year sentence in his late 50s, he knew one thing: he had to get out.
Forrest began analyzing the prison. He managed to convince the administration to let him work in the prison's industrial workshop, which was located right along the bay's shore. That was step 1. While studying the area, another inmate was watching him closely: John Wheeler, a fellow criminal with 3 prison escapes of his own. Wheeler walked up to Forrest and asked directly, "Are you thinking about getting out of here?" Forrest replied without hesitation, "Of course, that's the only reason I'm here." Wheeler made his pitch: "I know how to build a boat, and this workshop has every single material and tool we need."
Forrest's eyes lit up. They decided to build a kayak-style boat out of wood and plastic wrap. To help them, Forrest recruited a third man, his trusted associate William McGurk, to act as a lookout. Now, they needed a blind spot. Forrest discovered that guard tower number 4, which directly overlooked the workshop shoreline, was completely unmanned due to budget cuts. If they could launch the boat right under Tower 4, they could row away before the active guard in Tower 5 noticed them.
The trio began quietly gathering wood, formica and plastic wrapping, hiding them in a secluded storage room. Wheeler worked on building the boat in 2-minute bursts to avoid getting caught by guards. During construction, Forrest asked McGurk to steal a newspaper from a guard to check the weather forecast. But while flipping through the pages, Forrest found something far better than a weather report. The newspaper announced that in 3 days, the annual bathtub regatta race would take place in San Francisco Bay, a public event where locals raced homemade boats painted in blue and yellow. Forrest had his cover story. They would paint their makeshift kayak blue and yellow. If the guards saw them, they would just think they were participants in the race. On August 9th, 1979, the day of the escape, they assembled the frame, wrapped it in layers of plastic film, and painted it blue and yellow. They even painted their prison jackets to match. Forrest, with his signature sense of humor, painted a name on the side of the kayak: Rub-a-Dub-Dub. Now came the hardest part: carrying a 4-meter bright blue boat across 25 meters of open ground to the water's edge, right under the noses of the prison guard towers. They timed the guards' movements, picked up the boat, and made a dash for the shoreline. They shoved Rub-a-Dub-Dub into the freezing waters, jumped inside, and began paddling with all their strength. The guards at Tower 5 saw them in the water, but just as Forrest planned, they assumed they were part of the bathtub regatta race and didn't fire a single shot. Against all odds, the improvised plastic boat held together. Forrest Tucker, at 59 years old, successfully pulled off escape number 18, leaving San Quentin behind, floating away to freedom on a homemade bathtub boat.